Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Look, if you've ever stared at a legal document and felt like you were trying to decipher ancient Latin, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. The law is just packed with this intimidating jargon. But today, we're going to completely demystify it. We're translating that dense language into a super easy, practical toolkit using both English and Spanish. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with what legal writs actually are, and then break down 5 specific tools, or recursos legales: habeas corpus, mandamus, court checks, quo warranto, and wrap it all up with a neat summary of your new toolkit. Section 1. What are legal writs? To really answer that, we have to tackle the biggest roadblock in understanding the law, the language itself. I mean, just look at this scan from a standard legal textbook showing the types of writs. It looks like a giant impossible puzzle, right? It's a massive wall of text, ancient terminology, and seriously dense definitions. But hey, do not worry. I promise we are going to break this exact table down row by row. We're making it accessible, practical, and we'll do it de una manera muy fácil, in a very easy way. At its core, a writ is literally just a formal written order from a court. It commands someone to do something or stop doing something. It's basically a tool for justice. Section 2. Habeas corpus. Free the body. Let's start with probably the most famous tool in our kit. Imagine a scenario where someone is arrested by the police without any formal charges whatsoever. Or, even crazier, they're being held against their will in a private citizen's basement. What if someone is detained unlawfully? Or, ¿qué pasa si alguien es detenido ilegalmente? How does the law actually respond to such a massive violation of personal freedom? Well, the answer is habeas corpus. As our source points out, this Latin phrase literally translates to, "you may have the body." Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but its intended purpose is incredibly powerful. It's a direct legal demand to release a person who has been detained unlawfully, whether they're locked up in a government prison or held in private custody. It literally forces the captor to bring the body, the physical person, before a judge to prove they have a lawful reason to hold them. And if they don't, the person goes free. Section 3. Mandamus. Do your job. So, moving on from personal freedom, what happens when the system itself just entirely stalls out? Picture a local city official who flat out refuses to issue a business license that you are 100% legally entitled to receive. Or maybe a lower tribunal just won't hear your totally valid case. What do you do when a public authority simply refuses to do their duty? ¿Qué pasa si una autoridad pública se niega a cumplir con su deber? That is exactly when you use mandamus. According to our textbook source, mandamus literally means "we command." Its intended purpose is to secure the performance of public duties by a lower court, tribunal, or public authority. Think of it as a firm court order that basically translates to "haz tu trabajo," or simply "do your job." It is the legal crowbar you pull out when a public official is stuck and needs to be legally forced to act. Section 4. Court checks, certiorari, and prohibition. Okay, we've talked about forcing action, but what about stopping it? Consider this wild scenario. What if a local traffic court suddenly tries to issue a divorce decree? Obviously, they have absolutely no legal power or jurisdiction to do that. So how do we stop a court or tribunal that goes entirely out of its lane and oversteps its authority? ¿Cómo detenemos a un tribunal que se extralimita? Well, if the traffic court has already issued that ridiculous divorce decree, you need certiorari. The textbook tells us this means to be certified. Its intended purpose is specifically to quash, or cancel out, an order that has already been passed by an inferior court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial authority. It is literally the legal equivalent of a higher court hitting the undo button on a lower court's finalized mistake. But wait, what if you catch them before they issue the order? That is where prohibition comes in. Our source defines it exactly as it sounds, the act of stopping something. Its entire purpose is to prohibit an inferior court from continuing the proceedings in a particular case where it has no jurisdiction. You use this writ to completely freeze the process before the damage is even done. Now, what's really interesting here is the clear visual distinction between these two often confused tools. They both deal with a lower court overstepping its bounds, sure, but look at the timeline. On the left, prohibition is proactive. It stops the proceedings while they are still happening. On the right, certiorari is reactive. It quashes the order after it has already been passed. One stops the train from crashing and the other cleans up the wreck. Section 5. Quo warranto. Show your authority. This brings us to the final row of our textbook table. Imagine some random person shows up at City Hall, sits right in the mayor's chair, and starts barking orders, even though they were never actually elected. You'd probably want to look at them and ask, who made you the boss here? Or, ¿Quién te hizo el jefe aquí? And that brilliantly illustrates the exact legal function of quo warranto. Our source translates this literally as, what is your authority? Its intended purpose is to restrain a person from holding a public office to which they are not entitled. It's the ultimate legal stop sign. It forces someone to prove they have the legitimate right to hold the public position they're claiming. And if they can't show their authority, they're removed. Simple as that. Section 6. Your legal toolkit summarized. So the crucial point here is that you really don't need a fancy law degree to understand the mechanics of justice. You just need to break the language down. Let's review. We've taken that super intimidating textbook page from the very beginning and turned it into an easy bilingual cheat sheet. 5 essential tools. If someone is locked up illegally, you demand the body, habeas corpus. If a public official refuses to do their duty, you command them to act, mandamus. If a lower court steps out of line and makes an order, you quash it, certiorari. If they're in the middle of stepping out of line, you stop them proactively, prohibition. And finally, if someone takes public office without the right to do so, you challenge their authority, quo warranto. We started today with dense, intimidating Latin jargon. But by breaking it down step by step with easy examples, we've revealed a highly practical set of tools designed entirely to protect everyday citizens from abuses of power. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the literal translation of that final writ we just discussed. What is your authority? Or ¿cuál es tu autoridad? Because understanding these 5 simple tools grants you the authority to understand your own legal rights. When the system fails, which of these tools would you be ready to use? Think about that and keep learning.